Was this the best SmackDown in living memory? Was this the greatest debut that the WWE have done in many, many years? Money in the Bank qualifiers have started. I don't even know where to begin for this show, but what I do know is I've had to bring along Smack Dave from our AEW correspondent, Dave Robinson, to the SmackDown show because Dave, there has been, I mean, in wrestling in general, there is a lot going on right now.
Yeah, and as you say, I thought after Raw, um, I thought Raw was pretty special,
Mm.
and then I wouldn't say they topped it, but they certainly leveled it by what they did at the end of the show. Um, great time for WWE at the minute. Really exciting stuff, both short term and long term. You look at this bloodline story that just keeps rolling on, and when Heyman and Roman said last year after WrestleMania that we're kind of still at the start, you kind of thought, no, like ultimately Cody will beat Roman and that'll be it. But how wrong could I be? I don't know if you thought the same. But I thought when Roman disappeared, I thought, well, that's the bloodline stuff done with for now until Roman comes back. But they've just kept it going. And then this week has just added so much to it as well. Real
It's,
great job they're doing with it.
yeah, it was. I didn't know where they were going with it. Obviously they had to keep Solo doing something. Obviously Jimmy and Jay had split up. Jimmy's out injured at the minute as well, so it was a bit of a how are they going to keep it going?
Yeah.
We'll get into how they're going to get it going in a minute. But let's talk first things first. SmackDown got off to a hot start. CM Punk come out Chicago with Heyman interrupts halfway through and says, these radio things that were, saying about how Chicago's your hometown has pissed Solo off. You need to get out of this ring before they come out here because they're going to come out and I want you to ask you one other favor. Solo and that comes out. Punk says, "What was your favor, Paul?" He's like, "Take me with you," which I thought was quite a funny line. And
Yeah.
Cody coming out making the save as they were trying to attack Punk. The baseball bat was there. But then we go to a bit later on and onto SmackDown. So we had to, it formed a double kind of edged sword here. A bit later on, there was a bit of a backstage talk going on with Austin, with Grayson Waller and DIY. The garage door at the back of the building just sort of near enough lifts at one point. And as the garage door starts to come up, Punk is laying in a pool of blood. And above him is Drew McIntyre, who had quit, so to speak, WWE on Monday Night Raw. He come back for his revenge. We knew the revenge was going to be there, but you're talking about ways to enhance the storyline because we don't think the storyline's going to end until SummerSlam. So I don't know when Punk is actually cleared. I don't think he's cleared yet for England competition, but I mean, they have done this feud, considering everything, considering you've had the WrestleMania, the title matches, Drew's contract, Punk's injury. They have worked this storyline fantastically.
Have it's been damn near perfect, to be honest. I mean, I didn't admittedly like the finish the Clash at the Castle.
Mhm.
Get why they did it, and in terms of this story, it was definitely going to help prolong it and get better. But I just thought Drew deserved his moment, but in not giving him his moment, and you know, him getting he's getting his own back to a degree. I'm at in Chicago, and after the opening segment, because you say there was two different things going on, really. Um, that may have been deliberate to try and make us think that nothing was going to happen and Drew wasn't going to be there. Kind of worked on me, to be honest. I thought after seeing Punk and with the way that they closed that opening segment out, I didn't expect what we saw with Drew. So I thought it was brilliant, and as you say, the storytelling, not just with the bloodline stuff, but across the board in WWE at the minute, there's so much going on, and there's so much compelling stories that you just want to see week in, week out. You want to tune in and see the next chapter, and SmackDown didn't disappoint in that respect.
No, and that's what we're getting to now, isn't it? It's becoming again that you don't want to miss. I mean, Monday's Raw, where the Wyatt six, whatever you want to call them, debut on top of that. And on SmackDown, you've had this continuation. We're going to get into the bloodline stuff in a minute as well. And it's really, for me, it's I'm not gonna say it's back to being must-watch TV, but it's certainly every week now you're like, I need to watch, and it's not even just WWE, it's across the board. You're like, I need to watch this because something's going on in every promotion that you're just like, I need to watch.
Yeah, is it rising tides raises all ships?
Yes.
And I think that's definitely what's happened across the board in the wrestling industry in America. I think not only have you got two top companies, WWE and AEW, with the stars that they've got, but you've got more integration from properties abroad, wrestling companies working collaboratively together. You've got TNA doing great work still, and just in general, I think the wrestling industry is in the best place it has been for a long, long time. I think it's actually in the best place it's ever been when you factor in the sponsorships and the financials and the well-being of the staff and all the protocols that are in place. The attention to, the stuff that we've had over the years. We won't get into the details of controversies and stuff that shouldn't have happened, but I don't know, it seems to have a lot has been tidied up, and maybe big conglomerates, big companies like TKO Holdings and in AEW, you've got Tony Khan and the Khan family. It's just cleaned up the industry for me. And
Mm.
there's a lot of good things on and off screen. But as fans, we can't get enough of it at the minute. It's just brilliant. And there's not too much that you would watch. Not too many times you watch a show now and you wish you hadn't, or you think it was a waste of time, or you could have been in something better with that time. It's like I was fully invested with that from the opening segment to the finish of the main event, and that was certainly true of SmackDown this week.
Certainly was, and long may it continue, please, because
Yeah.
I love it when it's like this. I want to talk women's Money in the Bank. SmackDown in general for Money in the Bank, and I've used this term when we was doing AEW earlier, bracket busters. These are three matches that happened this week, and every one of them I got wrong. We'll talk the women first. The first one was Bianca Chelsea and Me Chin. I didn't think in a realm of Sundays Me Chin was going to come through. No disrespect, I just didn't have. I had Bianca winning this hands down. Chelsea Green picks up the victory. Now Io Sky is on the ladder match, has already qualified through Raw. Chelsea Green has now qualified through SmackDown. I think Chelsea Green is going to win Money in the Bank, the women's side.
That's a bold prediction. I like it. I'm the same. Out of the three competitors in the match, I actually thought that Michin had a better chance than
Did
Chelsea.
you? Really?
So yeah, yeah. So Chelsea winning was a surprise. Um, but I think it is her time. I think she's been kind of doing some really good stuff as part of, her character development and the things that she's been in. She is like the fans have definitely taken to her. Um, she gets reactions, and I think moving her into that main event scene for the women's division, it's I wouldn't say it's overdue. I would say that it's the right time to look at doing that and making her a bigger star.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I thought it was again, like I said, it was a bracket buster, as were the other two that we're going to get to. I'm all for it. I think it's about what I like in though is that I know that obviously Jey Uso is the big favorite on the men's one, and he did qualify, albeit by beating someone who was the other big favorite, which was Finn Balor. And I know they normally do a battle royal near the end to fill up a spot, but I'm liking the fact that we're getting, I want to say new people to want of a better phrase, but we're going to get to see some different talent in these Money in the Bank matches that perhaps we don't normally get. And I think that's going to benefit them in the long run.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, as you say, in the past, you go into the matches and there'd be a clear favourite. And now, looking at how the tournament started and some of the other matches that are yet to come, they're not. We absolutely expected Finn Balor and Jey Uso to be in separate matches and qualifying separately. So it was kind of raised a few eyebrows when the match was announced, and thought, well, how are they both? And you say there's ways to do it. They may end up in a battle royal, and Finn may win that, and we might see him there. But Finn's involved with other stories as well. With Judgment Day, with the Liv Morgan and the Dom
Yeah.
stuff. So it's not cut and dry. It's certainly not predictable. But I think that makes for a better product. Um, yeah, and we'll see who else joins Jay in that match. But he is a heavy favourite, and I'm convinced we spoke recently. I think Jay will get that opportunity at, to be world champion at some point. Whether that's now or in the immediate future, we're not sure.
Well, yeah, exactly that. I think Jay is the heavy favourite, certainly after coming off of the back of the other two matches, the men's main event. Carmelo Hayes getting a victory over Randy Orton and Tama Tonga initially. I mean, I was in my head, I had Tama. Again, Carmelo was pretty much like the Chelsea Green, really. Well, to be fair, Chelsea Green was second on mine. I know she was third on your list out of the three. Carmelo Hayes, when I saw Randy Orton and Tama Tonga and Carmelo, I kept thinking, well, it's out of Randy and Tama. But the WWE once again are doing the unpredictable, which I think works really, really well in this sense.
Yeah, because sometimes you get these triple threat matches, and there's somebody in there, and you think perhaps they're in there to take the pin because you don't want to. You want to kind of Randy Orton's a legend, and we suspect at some point they're going to move into a Cody Randy story, and then you've got Tamatonga, who's really made a splash since he's come into the company, and you don't want him picking up too many losses early on. So you think Carmelo might have been the fall guy, but he's the guy that actually comes away with the victory, and he's involved in that ladder match. So yeah, great work. I say it's like sometimes predictability in wrestling's good because it makes sense. And sometimes, you know, having that surprise element of not knowing who's gonna win those matches, and being able to make a compelling case for each of the participants as to why they should win. I'm all for it. So yeah, I'm glad, and he's a fantastic wrestler, and he'll play a great part in that match. Don't necessarily expect him to win it, um, but yeah, his involvement in it is a good thing for him.
Definitely so. We'll bring on to the third one now. It was Kevin Owens, Grayson Waller, and Andrade. So Kevin got attacked prior to this started by the Bloodline. Randy Orton run them off. But again, this was Kevin Owens, Grayson Waller, and Andrade, and I'm looking at it, and to be honest, on this one, I could only see one. I could only see Kevin Owens, even though he was attacked by the Bloodline before the match started. I could only see him winning this. I had the other two again. They've been in Grace Ward's a tag champ. Andrade's the speed champion. If you watch X, you get to see his matches. But Andrade picks up the victory with the message to win the match. And again, we're kind of saying exactly the same thing here as what we're saying for the previous match. It was unexpected, surprising, but again, it's been really refreshing to see new names qualifying for Money in the Bank.
Yeah, I suppose coming from the AEW analyst perspective and seeing some of Andrade's work
Yeah.
over in AEW, um, I've been a little bit disappointed with how he's been used so far in his return to WWE. So the fact that he's the favorite for me, but only because he was who I wanted to win. That wasn't necessarily in my head making that decision. That was more my heart, I suppose. So I wanted Andrade to win, but didn't expect it to happen because Andrade, as we've seen, he can absolutely compete at that very top of the card, and be involved in these matches. Somebody for me got more of a chance than Carmelo to actually come away from the match with the briefcase, and it's something that I absolutely wouldn't be against. I would support that one. The only concern with Andrade is the same old the promos, and whether he can connect with an audience the way he needs to, should he be in serious contention for a world title or a WWE title. So yeah, I was pleased. I'm glad to see that Andrade won, and I'm glad that he's going to be involved in that big match at Money in the Bank.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope you can see some spots happening in those matches that are just going to be crazy again for sure. Just want to bring on to next week's SmackDown briefly, just because there's another two Money in the Bank women's matches on this Sunday. We're bound to get wrong, depending on whether or not they buck the trend. One of them is Blair Davenport versus Naomi versus Indy Hartwell. Now, Blair Davenport has been having a little bit of a to do with Bailey already, so again, you would assume, and we were wrongly assuming this week, that Davenport would be more of the favorite to go on and win this match. just because she's already starting a little bit of, again, doing what they do best at the moment in WWE, and creating a story within a story. She's already kind of sidetracking to Bailey, but now gets the chance to be in a ladder match where she could go in and face Bailey at any time she wants.
Yeah, and we don't know whether she's got to build that up and get that earn that opportunity by getting the briefcase, or whether they'll go in a different direction and they'll tell another story with Blade Davenport and Bailey, and she has nothing to do with it. So again, more unpredictability even, and the WWE is a better place for it. These kind of qualifying matches in the past, we've seen them, and we've kind of known
Yeah.
prior to watching the show which way they were going to go, and that's simply not the case now. It is. You said perhaps not must. I think for wrestling fans, it has become must see again. I really do. I think the the fan base now aren't going into a show with anything other than excitement and anticipation. I think there's a number of things that's happened. The compelling stories is a huge part of it. The talented crop of performers they've both got from the homegrown and the people they've brought in from outside the company, the people that they bought through NXT, the international pay-per-views. You can go on and on, but it's all kind of led to this excitement, which I've not felt in terms of my fandom in the WWE for years, to be honest. Like I'm not a lapsed fan by any means. I've continued to watch through the good,
Yeah.
the bad, and the ugly, and everything in between, everything they've thrown at us over the years, which we could, we'd all hit a whole new other podcast to talk about some of the hits and misses that we've kind of endured at times. But this is unmistakably, it's just great wrestling content, great matches, great stories. And in terms of the participants in the match, we're getting some surprises and we're getting some people that we've wanted to see a while, like go to that next level. And it looks like Money in the Bank is going to be the place for them to do it.
Indeed, and yeah, they have thrown some severe shit at us over the good few years. So it's nice to watch it and be surprised for a change. The other match next week on SmackDown will pit Candice LeRae versus Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and just because, not because she had that fall at Clash at the Castle, that happens. There was a lot of issues. Now, there was a lot of issues with the ropes at Clash at the Castle that's come. I'm not trying to put away from the fact that she slipped off the rope, but there was a lot of issues with the ropes. You saw it during some of the matches. They were telling the wrestlers to be careful of the ropes. I don't think right now Jade Cargill should be in money. I don't think it will do her any good, her going in Money in the Bank now. My personal pick to win this is Tiffany Stratton, just because I think she's the most out of those three. I mean, Candice LeRae, crickets, with all due respect, she doesn't get a response. And doesn't mean to say she ain't going to win the match. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
beyond the realms of possibility now. But Tiffany Stratton, for me, seems the more ready out of those three to be not only be in that match, but actually could go on to win the match.
Yeah, and we saw Tiff in a elimination chamber match, and she more
Yeah.
than held her own.
Yeah.
Um, that makes the most sense to me. As you say, we've not got many of these predictions right in
No,
terms of Money in the Bank qualifiers. I think that one though, it kind of screams out to me. Tiffany Stratton perhaps picks up the win over Candice LeRae. I don't think they'll want Jade losing too many
no,
matches still, given her presentation and given the potential. I still think Jade is going to be a huge star. Maybe a
no,
little bit of a
definitely.
setback with the criticism she's received. I think some of it was a little bit over the top and unnecessary. And as you say, other performers has issues with the ropes. It happens.
Yeah.
Um, I think since Jade's come into the company, she's looked really good overall, and she's not the finished article in terms of in ring. But I think Tiffany Stratton is, and to move her into that match, and as you say, to even win that overall thing, and to be the one carrying that briefcase around once Money in the Bank said and done, I could definitely see that happening.
Could also get to the fact that she's also kind of having a bit of protection with Nia Jax, and that brings up the possibility there because if Nia will be facing the women's champion at SummerSlam,
Mhm.
You win the Money in the Bank briefcase. They say Tiffany wins it. Say even Nia doesn't beat Bailey, if that's the route they're going down at SummerSlam. There's a shoe in for a cash in right there and then, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that we've seen faces and heels both cashing and make the most of opportune moments. But I think for Jade to do that would take away a little bit from her character
Mm.
representation. The fact that she's this phenomenal, um, you know, athlete. So I think playing it out in my head, I think seeing Tiffany Stratton run down the entrance ramp to cash in, that would make a lot of sense to me. And it's something we could see whether it's Nia or Bailey that retains. Um, you could see an instant cash in there. And they might not, they might hold on to the title for a while like Damian Priest did. And,
Mhm.
but they tend to have one fairly early cash in and one that holds the briefcase a little bit longer. But I think Tiffany Stratton is already there in terms of main event star for the women. I think she could absolutely be the women's champion, and yeah, no one would bat an eye. I think that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think so. We'll wait and see next week. As I said, we've got all the results wrong this week, so who knows?
Yeah, we've
Um,
got them all. We're probably all going to get them all wrong for next week as
yeah,
well.
it'll probably be Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae will get through and something like that. Obviously no Wyatt 6 on SmackDown, which they increased security. We are expecting them on Raw. We did touch on this on the AEW. We're speaking on the AEW. Raw. So initially, Chad Gable was pulled from the triple threat against Big Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman, who was replaced with Ilya Dragunov, seemingly being resuscitated back from the dead, and he will now be in the triple threat match this week for the Main Event qualifiers on Raw. And they're also been playing games with Adam Pearce and Pat McAfee on social media. I'm just going to tune in because I want to know who. I mean, are they going to? Are that the three they're going to target? Have they got someone else in mind? That's going to play. And I know it's his SmackDown, and we're talking Raw here quickly before we move on to the main event. But there's your intrigue right there for Raw, isn't it? Where or what are the Wyatt? Or say the Wyatt, yeah, the Wyatt 6-6 going to do this week?
Yeah, and I saw a post on social media about Chad Gable and why seemingly he was targeted. I don't know if you saw that, but
About family, right? Was it about why you let the
yeah,
family
it said
down?
that he stopped saying thank you. I think that was part of it as well. Um, yeah, so this it wasn't an accident. It wasn't just spinning the camera around and it saw Chad Gable. It was very deliberate.
Yeah.
Braun Strowman was somebody that was rumored to have been attacked, but he
Uh,
came out and denied that and said,
Yeah, so just to advise on that, there has been confirmation that there was no other active wrestlers attacked. They were all brought in to be attacked. I know one of them looked like Gunter as well. But yeah, there was only one wrestler, and that was the only reason they showed Gable was for a specific reason, and you've just touched on it. But no other wrestler was attacked during that.
yeah. And so I thought it. I like the fact that Gable wasn't, as much as we're Gable fans, I like the fact that he wasn't going to be on Raw and he was going to
Yeah,
continue selling that. So it'd be interesting how they go about that. Is Chad Gable going to be like traumatized from what happened? Is it going to play into some of the stuff that he's doing with Otis still? I should say it again though, must see because we've got to, it's just intriguing as to, it was intriguing anyway, but the fact that he was taken out of the match and put back in, um, yeah, I'm sure it will make more sense after we've watched Raw.
yeah,
Uh,
it will be. Yeah, it will be indeed. Yeah, I don't know. Guessing game, which is great for us. What will be Chad Gable? What will happen to Adam Pearce? Will anything happen to Pat McAfee this week? Jey Uso on Raw was like, yeah, you can have your Fireflies back. I don't want them anymore, which was quite fun to see. They could
yeah,
target Jey Uso, yeah, who knows? But I mean, we're talking I'm going to be doing the top 10 soon with the Ringside Renaissance podcast of the greatest debuts. And I now think I've got to add this one that we're going to talk about potentially to this list. I mean, we've had some great ones with the likes of Jericho and people like that when they've come into the WWE. The main event of Cody Rhodes, Solo Sikoa, didn't last very long. The bloodline interfered. Randy and Kevin come out, and at one point they had Solo Sikoa just on the corner on his own. The other two were taken out, and you thought, Jesus, Solo's going to get his comeuppance here. All of a sudden, Solo starts laughing, and from behind them comes Jacob Fatu, yet another member of the Samoan dynasty. He destroyed Randy Orton. He destroyed Kevin Owens. He actually legitimately broke two Cody Rhodes' ribs, doing a massive splash off the top rope for a table. The bloodline gets stronger. They keep adding to that field. But on top of that, Dave, from a debut perspective, I don't recall one in living memory. I know you can say the Fiend perhaps, but in terms of just everything about it was brilliant.
It just screamed like legitimacy as well, just like a legitimate bad dude. And I think they've done well as well to follow up on that. I know Karrion Cross posted something out on X maybe about I've been fighting this guy over the continent, like the SmackDown roster is in a lot of trouble here.
Yeah.
And they played that out so well on screen. It was the perfect introduction for him to the company, the perfect addition to the new bloodline. And you see this new bloodline that's been assembled. You think about Roman, The Rock, the Usos. Jay obviously not part of it at the minute, but that could change in the future. And it's just compelling stuff. It's just undeniably great content, and I just can't get enough of it at the minute. I think the way that Randy and Kevin and Cody were willing to play their part in this story and this introduction of somebody like Jacob Fatu, that we've speculated for a while that he may be coming into the company, and there's other, believe it or not, there's many other members of that dynasty, the Samoan dynasty, that could yet play a part. We don't know when it's ever going to end, but I don't think we ever want it to end, given some of the stuff that we've had over the last few years. But this is a great introduction. As I say, coming off Raw, it was the last thing I expected, to be honest, that we'd be closing SmackDown with another debut or introduction of a new character. But yeah, I thought it was sensational.
It was brilliant, and it makes the mind boggles. As you say, Hukaleo is another one. Zilla Fatu put out on Instagram, "See you soon." I
Yeah,
mean, that's another two. Where are their allegiances going to lie? Roman is due back very, very soon. I know that Solo said on SmackDown he's not coming back. He is. He's coming back. I know his contract's up in a couple of weeks as well, and I'm assuming that's a foregone conclusion, by the way. But I mean, and then you got the Paul Heyman thing on top of that. So you've then got inner bits between more bits of the bloodline, and then you've got, well, who's Roman gonna? You expecting the Usos to come back together and go with Roman? Potentially, could it even have Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn go with him, or does Zilla Fatu and Hukuleo come in for Roman?
yeah. Well, does Roman? We're all expecting Roman to come back as this face, aren't we? Really,
Yeah.
but that's not a guarantee, is it? He
Nope.
could come in and he could reclaim his place at the head of the table. He could even go against Solo, put Solo in his place, and normal business has been resumed. So just so good, just so good. I think it's beyond. It's gone past the point of debate now in terms of you're talking about top tens and we're talking greatest stories uh, of all time in WWE. I don't think we might only be halfway through this story. Who knows? We could still be near the beginning. Um, but it has absolutely been the best story WWE have ever told. I don't think there's anything now that even comes close to it, to be honest.
We've just hit another top 10 here. The top 10 best storylines in wrestling is another one that we're going to have to add to that list to do. What a week.
Spoiler alert: Bloodlines number one.
Yeah, this is a prediction. It's a spoiler.
Yeah,
What a week of wrestling. It's been great. Just need to touch upon a few things before we go. We're going to be interviewing Jazz soon, which is going to be crazy. NWA. I can't wait. Big thanks to Aaron Stevens, Damian Sandow, you may know him as. That is one that you are not going to want to miss this week. Put it that way. Looking so much forward to that. And a big thanks to every one of you guys all 3,095 of you as of recording that have tuned in. I mean, we've the YouTube stuff. I don't know. Maybe we're page three pinup guys, Dave. They must love how I don't know. Really don't know. But the YouTube stuff has hit over 3,000 subscribers now. So big thanks to everybody for that as well. Just keep on following us at HTT Buckle on X or Twitter, hitting the Turnbuckle Podcast at all our social media network platforms. Sorry. Come to our show in the 3 weeks to the day at Ignite. Buckle up to. We've obviously unfortunately lost Doris, but we are going to announce a very, very spectacular, no spoilers there, replacement tomorrow for Doris. And I may also show you guys the Ignite version of the Money in the Bank briefcase later on this week. Maybe you see that later on. But Dave, talking wrestling reviews, always a pleasure. We'll do this all again next week. I still haven't got a way to get out of SmackDown or Raw shows yet, but I'm getting there. If it wasn't for copyright on YouTube, I'd have a new intro for it. But no, sorry, can't do that, I'm afraid. So you're stuck with SoCal Val. Not a bad change. But
Yeah.
until next week, everybody. He has been Smack Dave, Rory Robinson, AEW Guru. I don't know, DMD's probably going to make a change at some point. He has been Dave Robinson. I have been Adam Cousins. You have been watching the SmackDown review on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. And until next time, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, and good night.